Alright guys, it's been a little bit. I've been busy messing around. The truck is doing good. This update is primarily about these Latvian CNG injectors in here and what I have come to find out. And also, I put a little bit of an exhaust on here like we talked about in the other video. I slash cut it instead of the bullhorn. I don't know if I showed that. Anyway, before I get distracted, I read a lot about these injectors, and this is why I bought them, is because I heard that they were bad and they were susceptible to heat, temperature problems, fuel temperature problems, a bunch of shit like that. So for fun, I like disproving things and finding out on my own, and I'm highly skeptical. My friend even works at FIC, Fuel Injector Clinic, and I was like, well, I'm gonna buy these 160s, and he's like, did they fix the temperature issue? And I'm like, uh-oh. And he said that these guys in the center section have like a little Delrin or polymer, or I can't remember exactly the word he used, but it's a composite, not like a stainless steel valve or like the pintle itself, whatever, you know, control. I guess a couple are ball. There's many different style of injector. You can look it up if you want. I don't want to get into that. Anyway, there is a material in there that doesn't get affected when you're using compressed natural gas. But when you're starting to use gasoline or E85 or anything else, and the fuel rail and everything gets hot, see what I did is, I have both pumps running all the time to the tank, and my fuel temperature was getting hot, and after about an hour or so of driving in town, I would like lose control of the injector, and it would just start running lean. I could still drive the truck, but it'd be running really fucking lean and retarded. And if you let it cool off, it drives like normal the next day, or, you know, an hour or two later. And I could not figure out exactly like what the hell was going on with them, and I assumed that it must be maybe my fuel temp was getting out of control. So I have that ethanol content sensor over here, and I looked at my fuel temp, and it was hotter than normal. Okay, so I staged my pumps, so only one pump runs, and then at like 5-6 pounds of boost, the other pump comes on. So only one pump is running, and the fuel temperature is still fairly cold, 70-80 degrees. But what happens is, I believe the intake and the engine and everything is just from 2 hours of getting heated up. It happens right around an hour, 2 hours for sure, depends on the driving you're doing. Those injectors will just get hot from the cylinder head and intake and everything else, and even if the fuel is cold, it still has the same issue. I've done it. I didn't want to say much about it until now because I wanted to make sure, but I've tested it now like 3-4 times in a row. About an hour in, warm day, you can't control the injector. I've even tried adding fuel compensation. I mean, Megascore 3, you can do whatever you want. There's a table specifically for when fuel temperature comes up for you to add or subtract fuel amount, and I added fuel, tons of it, and it's non-linear. That's if you read the reports, the report says that the fuel temperature issue is non-linear, which means just because the injector and the fuel is getting hot, you can't give it a certain amount to fix it. It's just fucking weird. It does whatever it wants. It's erratic. So what's really cool about these injectors is they are cheap, and they are easy to tune, and they run beautifully as long as you're not driving the car a lot. So if you have a street car, you might not want these, but if you have a race car, you're probably never ever going to see a fuel temperature issue unless you are racing like a road course for an hour straight or whatever. But a drag car, these are great injectors. And my buddy works at FIC, so what I did is I talked to him about it for a while, and I'm going to try a set of quality injectors now, because everybody says that the Siemens Deca, I got rid of them actually. I was going to show the 80s. The 80s and the 160s, because they're cheap, everyone says it's a cheap injector. It's not that great. So I talked to my buddy at FIC, and I settled on a 105-pound injector for now, and he said I could trade them in if they weren't enough, because he says with the 105-pounder that they have, I should be able to make plenty of power. So we will see how far the 105-pound quality injectors go, and then if I need more, I'll go to like the 160 or the 210. And what's cool about the whole process is we will have a base tune for 80s, 105s, 160s for everybody. So that's the neat thing about it. And the other part is we will see how well the injectors go from FIC. I'll show you when I install them and some other things, and what kind of packaging they come in and all that fun stuff. And we will see what works best, and obviously I'll be testing the shit out of those. But what I would like to see is the 700 to 800 horsepower tire range, you know, on mostly ethanol, so I can race this at the track. But my biggest concern is I don't trailer this thing. So if I drive 2 hours to the track and my injectors are going to be all fucked up when I get there and I have to wait 4 hours for them to cool off, you know, that's obviously concerns of mine since I drive the shit out of my vehicles. It's not just a race car. I drive it. I mean, I put hundreds of miles on it. It has 1,400 on it now. And so we're going to try these 105s and see how they go. So, I mean, the 160s are a success story, but for people that are going to drive a lot, you know, they're not going to be that great. You can still drive on them, but man, you can't trust them. I tried adding globally certain amounts and rolling into it, and it's still, man, I don't trust them once they're hot. I would not do any horsepower pulls or racing unless you like, you know, wildly different air fuels from what you're tuning in. But that's the nice update. So hope everybody enjoys that. Let me know if you have any questions about these 160s. This is one of the reasons why I bought these, and everyone's like, where'd you get them? I'm gonna buy them. And this stuff always concerns me because I know a lot of people listen to, or they copy what I do. And these are cheap, but right now a bunch of people are probably like, shit, I drive my car a lot and I bought these 160s. So a lot of times I'll be testing a Megasquirt product and show people, and they're like, where do I buy it? How do I get it? And they buy everything, and then I'm like, it doesn't work, it's not practical, it's expensive, or the hardware can't support it, and everyone's like, well, shit, I bought all this stuff, Matt told me to buy it. Well, no, I'm very leery when I first start using stuff. Obviously the 80s are tried and true hundreds and thousands of times, so I like those. So this is why these 160s are so cheap. If you do more research, you'll find FIC, Bosch, a bunch of places recalled them because of the temperature issue. So they're running the other injectors, which have like a stainless steel inside, or other valves, or things that aren't susceptible to the problems. So once again, we will see how all that goes. I have an interesting car I'm going to put on the dyno tonight, so we'll get some nice video of that and walk around. A little bit slow on some videos, but hopefully we see some neat stuff with these injectors and some other stuff on the dyno soon and everything else.